Welcome students. In today's class we are going to discuss about the excretory system, the structure of it as well as the function of it. It is the system which is responsible for removing the harmful waste materials from our body and keeping our body clean and balanced. What is excretion? Excretion is defined as the process of removing the wastes from the body. Now, what are the products that are constituting the waste materials? They are actually the nitrogenous byproducts like urea. Now, there are some metabolic wastes as well which are also removed from our body, like carbon dioxide, which is removed from our body through exhalation, excess water, which is removed through the urine, and excess salt, which is removed through the urine, as well as our sweat. So sweating is also a process of excretion which performs the excretory process by removing the excess salt and water. But the main excretory organ which are playing the major role in removing the nitrogenous byproducts and metabolic wastes through urine is the kidney, and that constitutes the excretory system. What are some of the substances of excretion? First, through exhaled air, carbon dioxide is removed from the body, because if excess carbon dioxide gets deposited in the body, our blood will get carbon dioxide poisoning and we will be dead. So through the exhaled air, carbon dioxide is removed. As sweat, excess water and some salts are removed, and trace amount of urea is also removed through the sweat, but it's quite negligible. And through the urine, a lot of things are going to get removed. One of them is urea, which is the main excretory product of the human beings. Then a little amount of uric acid, which are produced because of the breakdown of amino acids in the liver. Amino acids actually are the very simple substance of the digested protein. Now, excess amino acid cannot be stored in the body. They need to be removed from the body. And when the amino acids which are excess are actually broken down in the liver, in that process urea and uric acid is produced. So there are actually some byproducts which are going to get excreted through the body. Then there is some bile pigment which is also present in the liver, which is having a little bit of yellowish tinge, and that is giving the characteristic yellow color of our urine, and that is also removed through the urine. Excess water which is not required by our body is also dissolving all of these nitrogenous wastes like urea, uric acid, salt, bile pigments, and that is also removed through the urine. And some extra salts like NaCl which are not required are also removed. Some vitamins like the water soluble ones cannot be stored in the body. The fat soluble ones can be stored, but the water soluble ones, after they are used, the excess ones should be removed, so they are also removed from the body. And antibiotics and some other drugs which have already done their work, and they also need to be removed from the body through the urine. Let us take a look at the function and the structure of the excretory system first. Since it is a system, obviously it will be comprising of a lot of different organs which are assigned with different works. But together they are actually doing the same function of the excretory system, that is excretion. Now the main organs are the kidneys, which are present at the back of the abdomen in the lower abdominal position, and the left kidney is present at a little bit upper position than the right kidney. If you look at the shape of the kidneys are bean shaped, and there are two kidneys that are produced on the right and left side of our body. There is a tube-like structure which is originating from the kidney and living, and it is rejoining into another structure at the lower portion. This tube-like structure is called the ureter, and from each kidney one ureter is originating. So there are 2 ureters in our body. The ureters are again joining in a small pouch-like structure which is present even lower, which is called the urinary bladder. And through the urinary, in the urinary bladder, the urine is stored temporarily, and whenever the bladder is full, we feel the urge of urination and the urine comes out through a median tube which is present even below the bladder, is called the urethra. And every kidney has the blood connection with the renal artery and the renal vein. Fresh blood is coming to the kidneys through renal artery, and the blood with less amount of oxygen and more amount of carbon dioxide is going back to the heart through the renal vein for getting again having fresh supply of oxygen. So these are the parts of the excretory system. If we look at the internal structure of the kidney, it's quite a little bit elaborate. If we see the picture, there is an outside portion which is a little bit pale red in color. That is the peripheral portion, and this is called the cortex. Then in deeper portions of the cortex, it has become a deeper shade of red, and those are triangular pyramidal structures that are present. Those portions are called medulla. So cortex is the superficial or peripheral region of the internal structure of the kidney, and medulla is the more internal structure or internal region of the kidney. Now all of those medullary pyramids are joining together in a funnel-like structure which is called the renal pelvis. So in every renal medullary pyramid, there are millions of nephrons that are present which are producing the urine. And that urine from every renal medullary pyramid is coming to the renal pelvis, and the renal pelvis is then sending it to the ureter. So renal pelvis is actually the place from which the ureter is originating and where the urine is collected and sent to the ureter. Then there is the red smaller diameter blood vessel that is entering the renal artery, entering the kidney, which is called the renal artery, which is carrying fresh supply of blood to the kidneys. And then there is the renal vein, which is collecting the blood with all the metabolic wastes like carbon dioxide and other wastes, and just taking it back to the heart for purifying it and infusing it with fresh oxygen. So this is the structure or internal structure of the kidney. Inside the kidney, there are millions of microscopic tube-like structures or tubular structures which are present. Those are called the structural and functional unit of the kidney, and these are called the nephrons. And these nephrons are the most critical player in purifying the blood and removing the wastes from the blood. Now let us look at how the nephron looks like. Let us first get a clear idea that the blood vessels or the renal artery has divided into very fine capillary, blood capillary, when it has entered into the kidney, and these blood capillaries are present in very close connection with the nephron. If you see the picture, the red is the capillary and the blue tube is the nephron. Now, the capillaries that are entering inside the artery, that is producing a network-like structure that is called the glomerulus. And this glomerulus is present in a U-shaped structure of the nephron, which is called the Bowman's capsule. So when the blood comes into the glomerulus, and the glomerulus has very fine layers in its walls of the capillaries, which is filtering the unwanted substances in the Bowman's capsule, and that Bowman's capsule is collecting that unwanted substance and moving it to the farther parts of the nephron. So Bowman's capsule is the U-like portion of the nephron which is present in close connection with the glomerular capillary network. Then if you just go to the further positions or further structures of the tube of nephron, after the Bowman's capsule, the portion of the nephron is called proximal convoluted tubule. It's a convoluted tubule, that means it has lot of bends and turns. Then it becomes a straight tube and it goes down and makes a U portion and then again comes up. This U turning is called the loop of Henle, which is also a part of the nephron. And then when the nephron has again come up and then it has again made some convoluted structure with a lots of bends and turns, then it is called the distal convoluted tubule. After the distal convoluted tubule has a lot of different distal convoluted tubules from different nephrons are coming together and they are together forming the collecting duct. And through the collecting duct, the urine is going to the renal pelvis, from it is where it is coming to the ureter as well. So these are the different parts of the nephron through which the urine and some other substances are also flowing through the nephron. And ultimately the urine is produced. Now we will see how the nephron is actually helping in urine formation. So we have already seen in the previous picture that the blood capillaries are present in very close association with the nephrons. When the blood capillary in the glomerular capillary structure, they are entering that part, they are actually under very high pressure. The blood is under very high pressure. Under this high pressure, some of the unwanted substances from the blood is just coming to the Bowman's capsule portion of the nephron, and that is called the glomerular filtrate or glomerular filtration. Water and different solutes smaller than the proteins are just forced through the capillary walls of the glomerulus and they are just collected in the Bowman's capsule portion of the nephron. Now, the thing is that through the water, some useful substances has also moved into the nephron. But these useful substances need to be sent back to the blood. So, in the later parts of the nephron, some like ions like sodium, potassium, magnesium which are required by the body or glucose that are actually taken back to the blood vessel. That is actually called tubular reabsorption. That means that the blood capillary is again reabsorbing the useful substances which has gone into the nephron with the useless substances or harmful substances as well. That is reabsorption. But some of the excess salt, water and urea that has been sent into the nephron from the blood capillary just move through the other parts of the nephron and ultimately form the urine, and then the urine is sent to the ureter, and when the ureter keeps the urine stored in the urinary bladder, and when the bladder is full, we just urinate and expel all of those waste substances in the outside. If some substances which are needed by the body, they will move from nephron to the blood capillary, and if some substances which are not needed and which are harmful and wasteful for the body, they will move from the blood capillary to the nephron. That is how through this process of exchange between the blood capillary and the nephron, urine is produced.